Why wealthy parents teach their children to respect time more than money. If you walked into an old money household and said, "I just want to make more money," they wouldn't clap. They would ask you something colder. How much of your time did it cost you? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Poor people chase money. New money chases income. Old money chases time. And that difference? It's the difference between hustle and leverage, between exhaustion and ownership, between building wealth and building a job with better branding. Wealthy parents don't teach their children to maximize earnings. They teach them to maximize positioning. Why? Because money can be earned back. Time cannot. And impatience destroys more generational wealth than bad investments ever will. Let's break this down. 1. Money is renewable. Time is not. You can lose money and earn it again. Markets crash, businesses fail, deals fall apart, capital can return. But time, once spent, it's unrecoverable. Old money families understand this at a structural level, so they ask different questions. Not, how much does this pay? But, what does this free? Not, how fast can we grow? But, how durable is this over 30 years? That shift changes every decision. 2. Time as leverage. Here's something most people misunderstand. Time isn't just a clock. It's leverage. The longer your capital is positioned correctly, the less effort you need to apply. Compound interest is not exciting, but it is ruthless. A modest investment held for 30 years will outperform a high-risk gamble flipped repeatedly. Why? Because time magnifies good positioning. Wealthy parents teach this early. They show their children. Patience multiplies, impatience liquidates. 3. Why hustle culture is a trap. Scroll social media. You'll see hustle glorified. Sleep less, work harder, grind non-stop. Now ask yourself, if hustle created generational wealth, why aren't the hardest workers the wealthiest families? Because hustle trades time for money. Ownership trades money for time. Old money avoids time for money exchanges whenever possible. They prefer assets that work without constant supervision. Real estate, equity, private holdings, dividend-producing assets. They build structures that free time, not structures that consume it. 4. Positioning over hustle. Positioning means being in the right place before the opportunity becomes obvious. It's buying land before development. It's investing before hype. It's building reputation before attention. Positioning requires patience, and patience requires respect for time. Wealthy parents don't rush their children into fast wins. They emphasize foundation, education quality, network depth, skill durability. Why? Because positioning compounds silently. Hustle burns out loudly. 5. Impatience destroys wealth. Here's a pattern. New wealth often disappears by the third generation. Why? Because impatience creeps in. The second generation maintains. The third generation wants acceleration. They take bigger risks, leverage more aggressively, chase faster returns. Impatience turns stewardship into speculation. Speculation under emotional pressure destroys multi-decade positioning. Old money families guard against this. They teach restraint, not fear. Act restraint. 6. Time horizon is power. Time horizon determines behavior. If your horizon is 1 year, you speculate. If your horizon is 5 years, you optimize. If your horizon is 25 years, you dominate. Wealthy parents stretch their children's horizon early. They talk in decades. They think in cycles. They make decisions that look boring now but powerful later. Boring is often profitable. Exciting is often expensive. 7. Why your advisor rarely talks about this. Why doesn't your CPA emphasize time horizon as aggressively as tax deductions? Because urgency sells better than patience. Why does financial media focus on quarterly earnings? Because short-term volatility drives engagement. Why are you constantly encouraged to act now? Because impatience creates transaction volume, and transaction volume generates fees. Old money families minimize unnecessary movement. They move strategically, not frequently. 8. Respecting time changes career decisions. Wealthy parents don't just ask, what job pays most? They ask, what trajectory compounds? A high-income job that traps your time is less powerful than ownership in a scalable structure. They guide their children toward equity positions, skill stacks with long shelf life, industries with structural tailwinds. They optimize for future leverage, not immediate status. 9. The network effect. Time builds networks. Networks create optionality. Optionality creates leverage. Wealthy families understand that relationships require patience. You can't rush trust. You can't accelerate credibility artificially. Old money moves slowly socially. They build deep alliances, not shallow connections. Time converts acquaintances into strategic allies. 10. Asset durability. Another principle. If an asset demands constant attention, it owns you. If an asset runs independently, you own it. Respecting time means favoring durability, long-term leases, stable businesses, low turnover strategies. They avoid flashy volatility. Why? Because time is best spent scaling systems, not babysitting chaos. 11. The cost of rushing. Rushed investments overpay. Rushed expansions overextend. Rushed exits underprice. Impatience introduces error. Old money reduces error by slowing decisions. They don't respond emotionally to trends. They analyze structural fundamentals. They ask, will this still matter in 20 years? If not, it's noise. Noise consumes time. Time is sacred. And 12. Generational thinking. Here's the key. Wealthy parents don't think about retirement. They think about succession. That changes behavior dramatically. You don't strip assets for fast gains if you expect your grandchildren to inherit them. You protect durability. You preserve core holdings. You adjust slowly. Respecting time means honoring continuity. 13. Positioning during chaos. When markets panic, impatient investors sell. Patient investors reposition. They deploy capital gradually. They extend horizon instead of shrinking it. Because volatility is temporary, time is permanent. Positioning during downturns creates asymmetrical upside during recovery. 14. The quiet advantage. Old money rarely announces moves. They acquire quietly, hold quietly, compound quietly, because attention is short-term. Our wealth is long-term. They don't chase applause. They chase decades. 15. How you apply this. You don't need generational wealth to respect time. You need discipline. Start asking, does this income trap my time? Does this investment scale without constant attention? Does this decision strengthen 10-year positioning, reduce unnecessary movement, increase intentional duration, build assets that outlive moods? 16. The real difference. The wealthy don't worship money. They respect time, because time determines compounding, network depth, skill mastery, asset durability. Money is a tool. Time is the multiplier. 17. Final frame. Ask yourself, are you chasing faster money or building slower power? Are you reacting to short-term noise or positioning for long-term control? Because impatience makes you look busy. Patience makes you wealthy. Old money doesn't rush. They wait. They position. They compound, and over decades, they own what hustlers exhaust themselves chasing. Respect time more than money. Money follows, time decides.